The distress beacon from the agricultural world of Kepler 438b had been broadcasting for 3 days when the first human ship arrived. Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the UES Retribution stared at the tactical display with growing horror as the extent of the Vorthak raid became clear. "Jesus Christ," whispered her tactical officer, Lieutenant Marcus Chen, his face pale in the blue glow of the holographic readout. They didn't just attack the settlements, they glassed the entire northern continent. The peaceful farming colonies that had called Kepler 438b home were gone. 8 million souls, humans, Altarians, and even some Zephyrian refugees, reduced to ash and radiation. The Vorthak had come not for conquest or resources, but for the simple joy of destruction. "Any survivors?" Lisa asked, though she already knew the answer from Marcus's expression. "Negative, Captain. But..." He paused, highlighting a section of the planet's southern hemisphere. "There's something else. The beacon isn't coming from the surface." Lisa leaned forward, studying the display. Deep beneath the planet's crust in what appeared to be an abandoned mining complex, a faint signal pulsed steadily. The message, when decoded, was simple. "They took our children. Help us." The mining station had been home to nearly 2,000 families when the Vorthak arrived. The raiders had done what they always did, taken the young and able-bodied as slaves, leaving the elderly and wounded to die. But somehow, a group of survivors had made it to the deep tunnels. "How long until the next human patrol gets here?" Lisa asked. "The nearest fleet is 2 weeks out minimum," Communications Officer Janet Webb reported from her station. "But Captain, I'm picking up something else. Multiple FTL signatures inbound." Lisa's eyes widened as ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace around Kepler 438b. They weren't military vessels, at least not officially. The Furious Angel, a converted cargo hauler bristling with hastily mounted plasma cannons. The Remembrance, an old colony ship refitted for war. The Blood and Thunder, a mining vessel whose drill arrays had been modified into devastating kinetic weapons. Private ships, Marcus observed with amazement. Merchants, civilians, everyone with a hyperdrive capable of making the jump. The communication channels erupted with voices as more ships arrived. "This is Captain Sarah Kim of the merchant vessel Final Warning. We heard the call. Mining ship Earthshaker reporting for duty. What do we need to blow up?" "Stella's Revenge. Standing by. Those bastards killed my nephew on Kepler. Time to return the favor." Within 6 hours, nearly 200 human ships had assembled in orbit around the devastated world. They came from every walk of life. Traders who had abandoned profitable routes, families who had mortgaged their futures for weapons, retirees who had pulled ancient warships out of mothballs. Lisa found herself thrust into an impromptu command role as the senior military officer present. Standing in her ship's briefing room, now packed with holographic projections of volunteer captains, she felt the weight of their collective fury. "The Vorthak slave convoy left 3 days ago," she began, her voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm her. "Intelligence suggests they're heading for the Maldek system, where they operate one of their largest processing centers." An older man's projection spoke up, Captain Torres of the Vendetta, his weathered face set in grim determination. "How many ships are we talking about?" 47 Vorthak vessels, including at least 12 heavy cruisers, Marcus reported. "By all conventional military wisdom, we should wait for the fleet." The room fell silent for a moment before Captain Kim of the Final Warning laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "Conventional wisdom? My daughter was on Kepler, Captain. Conventional wisdom can go to hell." A chorus of agreement rose from the assembled captains. These weren't trained naval officers following orders. They were human beings driven by something far more dangerous, righteous fury tempered by love, for their own kind. "The plan is simple," Lisa continued, bringing up a tactical projection of the Maldek system. "We hit them fast and hard before they can organize a proper defense. The goal isn't glory, it's rescue. Every human, Altarian, and refugee we can save." The improvised human fleet jumped to hyperspace 12 hours later. What followed would become legend in the annals of galactic history. The Vorthak were expecting pursuit eventually. What they weren't prepared for was 200 ships dropping out of hyperspace with guns blazing, their hulls decorated with hastily painted names like Children's Crusade and Never Again. The battle was chaos incarnate. Converted mining ships rammed Vorthak cruisers, while their crews detonated explosive charges manually. Cargo haulers used their loading arms to tear apart enemy fighters. The merchant vessel Hope's Light crash-landed directly into a slave processing facility, her crew fighting their way through the wreckage to free prisoners. Captain Elena Vasquez of the Righteous Fury transmitted over the open channel as her ship's reactor went critical. "Tell my kids I kept my promise. Tell them Mama made. The bad men pay." When the smoke cleared 6 hours later, the Vorthak fleet was scattered wreckage drifting in space. Nearly 30,000 prisoners had been freed from the processing centers, including 800 survivors from Kepler 438b, who had been marked for the fighting pits. Lisa stood on her bridge, looking out at the ragtag fleet that surrounded them. 63 ships had been lost along with their crews, but every single survivor had been recovered. Marcus approached with a communication tablet. "Captain, we're receiving messages from across human space. Word of what happened here is spreading." The messages were simple, variations on a single theme. "Where do you need us next?" The galaxy had learned something that day about humanity. They had seen human worlds burn before, witnessed human fleets defeated in battle, but they had never seen what happened when humans stopped thinking like soldiers and started thinking like family. As news of the Battle of Maldek spread, alien species across the galaxy began to understand a fundamental truth about their human neighbors. Touch one of them, and you would answer to all of them. The call for aid had gone out, and humanity had answered not with calculation or strategy, but with the pure, unleashed fury of a species that would never abandon their own. In the weeks that followed, Vorthak raids on human settlements ceased entirely. The raiders had learned, as so many others had before them, that there were some prices too terrible to pay. And in the deep places between the stars, other predators took note and quietly changed course, seeking easier prey among species that fought only for themselves.